Tactical weapons and armors are a huge part of the Fallout 4 modding scene, but it's typically something I don't dedicate a whole video to. They're usually sprinkled within a Mods Weekly, but this time around we have so many that I figured we might as well make an entire video dedicated to that part of the modding scene. This is going to include some new weapons and some new armors, most of which are going to be pretty dang tactical, but there are some still pretty lore-friendly options in here, so if you're into that kind of thing, sit tight because there are some options here for you as well. The fun part about Fallout is that there are some mods that ride the line between tactical and lore-friendly, and sometimes those are some of the best mods available. So let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with our first mod this week, which is the Modern Warfare 2023 M4 Platform 2.0 by OzzyTheRaven. This is going to be a massive undertaking, a huge mod that adds a ton of different M4 variants. And now this is going to be pretty much every variant available in Modern Warfare. This is going to include a typical M4, you know, your standard 5.56 assault rifle. There's also a version chambered in 458 SOCOM, a version that is going to be sort of a P90 setup with 5.7 and the top-mounted P90 magazine. You'll see that a lot in Modern Warfare. I believe it's known as the Hurricane in that game. There's also the 5.56 Icarus, which is going to be an LMG variant, a belt-fed M4, if you will. All of which are going to come complete with wonderful AAA models and textures, custom animations, good sounds, a ton of customization at the weapons workbench, since it does rely on the COD modding framework, which means you'll get pretty much every attachment available in that game, which is just insane. That is a huge amount of customization. And of course, the typical integration for a modern tactical mod like this. And by that, of course, I mean that you're either going to have to craft this thing over at the chemistry station, which at least that is available as an option, or you're going to have to cheat it in by spawning it in. Crafting is definitely going to be the way to go, though. It's going to be the easiest way to see all of the weapons and get them all for yourself. Once you have them, you can customize them to your heart's delight, give them out to your companions, or use them for yourself, whatever you want to do, but they will not be integrated into the game by default. You're going to have to either add that yourself or wait for a patch that will add these to the world's leveled lists. While the integration isn't my preference, I would love to see this thing added to the leveled list. It still is going to be a massive mod with tons of customization, allowing you to get the perfect M4 for your character. Whatever it is that you could possibly desire should be featured in this mod, whether it's a retro-looking M16 or a modern tactical M4, or even one of the crazier variants like that 5.7 P90 version. As far as the AR-15 platform goes, this is probably one of the better mods on the Nexus when it comes to the amount of content available within it. This has pretty much everything you could ever need. Every optic, every stock, every barrel, every magazine, and every format that the M4 could possibly take place in. If you're a fan of the more modern look, this definitely is a must-have for you. A wonderful new weapon platform, technically multiple weapon platforms for you to add to your game. And if you're a little bit savvy with Xedit or the CK, you can even add this to the level list to make it integrated perfectly in your game. Couple small details about this mod as well. It does require the Stooges modding framework. If you're not familiar with that, this is going to be a huge library for COD mods that will allow them to be a bit smaller than they would be otherwise. This is still going to be a pretty big mod considering it has a ton of different guns and attachments in it already, but it's even smaller thanks to the modding framework. So if you're a fan of the COD mods, definitely pick this one up, and any others that use this modding framework, as it's going to make them all a whole lot smaller. Additionally, there are a handful of different versions for this mod. There is the main version. You can have it archived or loose. And there are also some extra options. There is a blueprint pack, which is going to be an extra gigabyte of skins and options that allow you to get even more customization than there was already in the form of cool cosmetics. Additionally, there is a tactical reload patch if you are a user of tactical reload. It is not built in innately. You're going to have to get the patch, but it is right there in the optional file. So if you do use that, you will have a patch right there so that all of these weapons will have tactical reload built into them. Now then, taking a step back from guns, let's check out the next mod in our lineup, known as the Assault Gas Mask Replacer. Now, this is a very, very simple mod on the surface. This is going to replace the mesh of the vanilla Assault Gas Mask. If you're not familiar with that one, that is the green hooded mask with the very funky sci-fi design. And this is going to replace it with a more regular looking gas mask, one that is inspired by a real life gas mask, and in some veins you could consider this to be a little bit tactical, a little bit modern, but honestly I think it fits in the game very well. I'm actually considering using this as a mainstay in my load order. I'm not really a fan of the design of the original Assault Gas Mask. I think it looks a little out of place. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's almost too sci-fi for Fallout to me. This is going to ground it a little bit more. It keeps the original hood with the duct tape markings, but it's going to add a more realistic gas mask with double vents and a nice visor that is actually semi-see-through so you can see your character underneath. And I really like gas masks for Fallout. It is a game that makes sense to have a lot of gas masks around, especially with all of the radiation and debris that could be floating around in the air. Honestly, this hood and mask combo has a major stalker vibe, which is also nice for Fallout in my opinion. And altogether, it looks really, really nice. And it rides that line in between tactical and lore-friendly that I think is perfect. I think you could put this in any load order, and it would make sense. And it's just a replacer, so there's no task that you have to go find or hunt down. This will just replace the vanilla one, so anytime you would encounter that, it will be this one instead. And in my opinion, it looks miles better than the original. Now, that being said, there are actually some small changes added to this mod. Even though it is a replacer, there are some changes to the mask itself to make it a bit better and viable, so that if you want to pick it up and use it yourself, it will actually make sense to be able to do so instead of being just a kind of mid-armor piece in vanilla. Now, they will have improved radiation resistance up to 25, much more than it originally was. And additionally, it is added to the Railroad level list and Legendary level list, so you can find it that way as well. Since I originally recorded this footage, there has also been an update to add more options, including an option for non-transparent goggles if you want it to be completely opaque, a version of the gas mask that only has one filter instead of two, and there's also a black version of the mask and goggles as well. So now there's even more customization option than there was before. Originally, it was just a replacer that would be one static mesh, just like the original mask, but now there's customization options, which makes this definitely a huge upgrade to the vanilla mask. Again, this is a simple gas mask mod, but it's one that I enjoy quite a bit. I love little improvements to the game, not just new stuff as well. So having a nice improvement that will make the original gas mask that I didn't really like into something much cooler that has customization options and some added benefits is really, really nice. Now moving on, we have a new missile launcher to talk about, known as the AML-75 by Arobot96. We've talked about Arobot a few times recently. They are a new modder to the scene, making some really cool mods and practicing new animations. One of the last things we checked out was their really cool revolver, and now they have the AM-75 missile launcher. Sort of a lore-friendly version of a javelin. Now, the tactical nature of this mod is definitely the way that it functions, but visually and aesthetically, I think it fits in Fallout so well. This looks like something straight out of Fallout 3. It is very cool, and it comes with some of the coolest custom animations I've ever seen. You get to hold this weapon in two hands in front of you, as if you're controlling some sort of big, heavy weapon device, not just a standard missile launcher, and then the barrel will be slung over your shoulder. It has a super cool integrated scope, and it has a bunch of cool features like tracking missiles and other types of missiles that you can equip to this thing, and also a handful of different scopes that allow you to change out how they function as well. There's also a funky barrel that is going to allow this thing to shoot multiple missiles instead of just the one, and each of those has their own custom animations. Truly, this is a really, really cool missile launcher. I have a hard time justifying new explosive weapons in my game because a lot of times they feel redundant with the vanilla missile launcher, but this one has its own really cool pizzazz that I think is super cool and super unique, so I actually really don't mind having this one as a redundant option in my game because it is just so unique and so fun, and also it just looks amazing. This thing surprisingly does come with a good bit of attachments over at the weapons workbench. It also has leveled list injection. Now, that being said, the leveled list injection is pretty interesting. By default, it's supposed to spawn after level 30. You can buy it from merchants. It has custom animations that work on the NPCs that it spawns on as well. But in my testing, I will admit, it spawns a little too often. I went over to Dunwich Borers to get some footage, and almost half of the raiders there had this missile launcher. So I think it could use some leveled list tweaks. That's something you can do yourself, or hopefully it'll get an update in the future. As of right now, I see it way too often for a missile launcher, in my opinion, but that is something that is easy to fix. This weapon is still perfect in every other way. That is just a small thing that I noticed. It made combat pretty difficult because I was getting missiles thrown at me all the time. That being said, this is a type of weapon we have never really seen an effective version of. A nice javelin-inspired missile launcher, and one that has a pretty lore-friendly aesthetic. Altogether, I think this thing is really cool, and like I said about the gas mask prior, this feels like something that could appear in a lore-friendly load order or a modern one, and it'll fit either way. It fits really, really nice in either style, in my opinion. Altogether, great work from Arobot. It's really cool to see them improving at such a rapid pace, and I can't wait to see what they come up with next. Now, the next mod is actually one that I'm pretty dang excited for, and that is the Modern Warfare 2019 Dragunov by Winter. Now, you know me, I'm not really a modern tactical guy, but this is the first time we've seen a standalone Dragunov mod for Fallout 4, which is kinda crazy. There is one built into Nova Finch's pack, but this one is going to be the only one that is standalone. It is its own weapon mod with its own attachments, and it is by itself. But it is going to be a Modern Warfare port, so keep that in mind, depending on what you like. That means there are going to be some tactical options. You can have the original, old-school wooden SVD, or you can upgrade it to have some pretty tactical, modern attachments, including polymer stocks, fancy suppressors, and a key mod front barrel. Now, even with all that in mind, if you are into tactical, then this is a perfect mod for you, and even if you're not, you can still customize this thing to be the pretty cool retro SVD style. And it is going to have those AAA models and textures, custom animations, of course. a really nice beefy sound effect, and overall just a nice fun weapon to use. Now, this mod is going to require see-through scopes to use some of the scopes available. It also has tactical reload support, of course. This is another mod that requires the Stooges COD modding framework, which means this will be smaller than it would be typically, and it adds its own custom ammo type, which is 7.62 by 54mm rimmed. Now, something special about this mod, even though it is a COD port, this one actually has a leveled-list integration patch, which is not something we typically see for these COD mods, which is something I really enjoy. So you can actually get that as an option. Again, there's a tactical reload patch for support, and even a fake-through scopes patch if you use fake-through scopes instead of see-through scopes, which is a cool option to have as well. All of those options make this a very competent mod to use, and I'm a big fan of the Dragunov as a weapon in media. It's a really cool sniper. You see it in so many games. And it's weird that we don't see an option for this in Fallout. We have the bastardized version that you see in Nuka World, which is just an AK with some attachments. But this is a proper Dragunov with the correct ammo type, a nice, big, beefy DMR that is really cool. So if you want to try this one out, it'll be linked down in the description along with all the other mods in this video. But of course, that's going to take us to the last mod of this week, which is the Aiko's Modern Warfare 3 SOA Subverter ARX200. Quite a mouthful. This is going to be an assault rifle from the Modern Warfare 3 title, one that I'm actually not familiar with, as that's one of the games that I have not played yet. This is going to be a fancy new assault rifle that has a huge fire rate. It functions almost like an SMG, but with a nice big caliber. Apparently, this is known as the Subverter in-game, but it takes inspiration from the Italian ARX200. It's going to be chambered in 7.62 by 51, which is honestly kind of crazy. That's basically 308. And it's in full auto, in a very fast fire rate, which is kind of crazy. As with the other COD mods that we talked about this week, this does require Stooges COD modding framework, so it is smaller than it could be. It also has custom animations, beautiful models and textures, and a ton of attachments over at the weapons workbench that change not only the scopes and magazines, but also some of the stocks and barrels and furniture, which is always a nice option. It also includes a couple of unique variants, one of which has an animated texture, which is honestly really cool, so if you're into that kind of thing, there is going to be that. One note is that this doesn't have custom power armor animations, sadly. This is going to be only custom animations for the regular old player, no power armor. I have not seen Aikowowo very often on this modding scene, so they might be a little bit newer, so they didn't have the ability to make power armor animations, but maybe that's something that will come in the future. This mod also comes with built-in support for tactical reload and see-through scopes, so that is pretty cool. There's also a non-tactical reload version if you're into that kind of thing. At this moment, this is going to be a PC exclusive mod, no Xbox version. However, they have it open so that if you want to make an Xbox port, you can talk to the author and maybe get that going. So this is something that could appear on the Xbox at some point in the future. And when it comes to integration, sadly, the only way to obtain this weapon is by spawning it in via the console. There is no integration via the leveled list or even via the crafting menu at the chemistry station. So if you want to get your hands on this one, you are going to have to cheat it in. That being said, leveled list patches aren't too terribly difficult, and maybe we'll see one in the future. I do see leveled list patches for tactical weapons popping up quite often from other users, so maybe that's something we'll get at some point down the line. But with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. 5 brand new mods, 4 weapons, 1 armor, all of which very high quality, some of which very tactical, some a little bit more lore friendly. Depending on what you like, you can pick and choose which of these you want to download. They will all be linked down in the description below, as always, if you want to check any of them out and support the authors. While you're down there, consider dropping this video a like if you liked it. It really helps out the channel and lets me know what kind of videos you guys want to see more of. Additionally, if you'd like to support my work directly, whether it's the videos I make here on YouTube or the mods I make on the Nexus, you can do so using the link down in the description to support me on Patreon. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!